It was past lights out at Kingsfield International College, the kind of Lagos boarding school where students wore polished shoes, used tablets for assignments, and were expected to become ministers or moguls. But in the far end of the music room, under flickering fluorescent light, 16-year-old Ayoola balanced his prized possession, a second-hand saxophone, and played soft jazz melodies no one was supposed to hear. His fingers moved with the kind of confidence he didn't have in class or around his peers. Jazz wasn't part of the school curriculum. It certainly wasn't cool. But in those midnight hours, Ayoola felt real. A thin stream of smoky scent wafted through the music block window. It made his stomach rumble. Curious, he paused his tune and followed the trail. Behind the dormitory laundry house, he discovered a girl crouched over a charcoal stove, fanning flames and humming Burna Boy under her breath. She had braids pulled into a rough bun, wore a hoodie 2 sizes too big, and moved like she owned the ground she squatted on. Her name was Ife, short for Ifedeo, and according to rumor she ran a secret jollof rice hustle that funded her textbooks, snacks, and occasional hair extensions. "Smells like you're cooking rebellion," Ayoola said, startling her. She looked up, wary eyes narrowed. "And you sound like a boy with a death wish. You know it's past curfew?" They studied each other for a moment. Then Ayoola, half-joking, added, "Trade a plate of rice for a song?" Ife hesitated, then smirked. "Hope your jazz is spicy." That night, something clicked between smoky firewood and sultry saxophone notes, an unspoken rhythm. Neither of them knew yet, but this would be the first of many secret meetings. And maybe, just maybe, something more. By the third night, their routine was locked in like rhythm and bass. Ayoola would sneak out of dormitory block C through the back staircase, saxophone in hand, and Ife would already be stirring her pot behind the laundry house. The firelight danced across her face as she cooked, and Ayoola's jazz filled the humid Lagos air with a strange sense of home. Sometimes he played mellow blues, other nights upbeat bebop. Ife would tap her spoon on the pot, freestyle humming along, offbeat, off-key but always with soul. "You've got sauce," he told her one night. "I know. I put 3 Scotch bonnets in this batch," she replied, grinning. They talked in between notes and stirring. About family, hers a food vendor in Ajigunal, his a bank manager who thought music was a waste of time. About dreams, hers to open a restaurant called Ife's Fire, his to play jazz on global stages from New Orleans to Paris. But there was always a pause when the topic drifted toward the future. What would happen when school ended, when dreams met Lagos reality? Still, for now, this worked. One night, Ayoola brought her a plastic container. "What's this?" she asked. "Jollof. My version," he said. She opened the lid, sniffed. "No pepper. No meat. Just rice and ego." He laughed. "Fair enough. Teach me then. We can jam and cook." So they did. Jazz riffs and rice steam. Ife taught him to stir, taste, adjust. He taught her tempo, improvisation, swing. They were building something, a partnership, maybe even a harmony. But school wasn't going to let them play freely forever. The whispers started small, hushed giggles in the dining hall, a side-eye in prep class. It wasn't long before Victor, the ever-smiling but sharp-eyed head boy, caught wind of the jazz boy and jollof girl. He didn't care much for music or cooking, but he cared for order. One night, he trailed Ayoola after lights out and caught a whiff of smoke and melody in the night breeze. The next morning, Ayoola was summoned to the principal's office. Principal Adeyemi, with his salt and pepper mustache and stern eyes, looked up from Ayoola's file. "Jazz music after hours? And cooking unauthorized meals? This isn't a street corner, Ayoola. This is Kingsfield." "I understand, sir," Ayoola muttered, head bowed. Ife was called next. She walked in, chin high, unflinching. "Do you deny the allegations, Miss Ifedeo?" "No, sir. I sell jollof. Better than the dining hall." There was a brief silence. Even Principal Adeyemi blinked. Detention was served for both, 2 weeks of scrubbing bathrooms and cataloging library books. But that didn't stop them. Ife stashed her ingredients in the art room cupboard. Ayoola practiced using an old mouthpiece tucked under his mattress. They adjusted their meeting spots, sometimes behind the chapel, other times by the abandoned physics lab. Victor kept watching. But Ife and Ayoola just got smarter. Their bond deepened, forged through rebellion and rinsed with laughter. "Snitches get stitches," Ife would joke. Ayoola added, "But jazz gets jollof." For every obstacle they found rhythm. Until something bigger came knocking. It happened during Kingsfield's annual Arts and Talent Showcase, a show that usually featured mediocre spoken word, stiff ballet routines and offbeat choir performances. But this year someone new sat in the audience. Seyi Adebayo, a sharp-suited talent scout from Soundline Records, with a reputation for discovering the next big thing. He wasn't supposed to be there. He'd come to pick up his niece and wandered into the hall by chance. Ayoola wasn't on the performance list. But as the final act dropped out due to food poisoning, someone shouted, "Let that jazz guy play." The room shifted. Principal Adeyemi looked uncertain, but the crowd roared. Ife, sitting in the back row, gave a tiny nod. Ayoola walked up, saxophone in hand. For 3 minutes, the hall became a jazz club. His notes soared, dipped, danced. The crowd was silent, breath held, until the final note hung like a kiss in the air. Seyi clapped first. Then the whole hall erupted. After the show, Seyi approached him. "Ever considered recording?" Ayoola blinked. I just play." "Well, maybe it's time you get heard." From the shadows, Ife watched. A strange feeling twisted in her chest. Pride, fear, something unnameable. She clapped too louder than most. But her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. That night, the jazz was softer. The jollof was forgotten. Seyi returned a week later, this time with contracts, business cards, and stories of sold-out shows. "You've got potential," he told Ayoola. "We'll build your brand. But you'll need to leave school by term's end." Ayoola stared at the paper. Music, his escape, his rebellion, was becoming a real path. He should have been ecstatic. But he couldn't stop thinking about Ife, the girl who taught him to stir stew and find rhythm in the ordinary. That night, they met as usual, though something felt different. He told her about the offer. She went quiet, face unreadable. "You should take it," she said finally. "I thought you'd be happy." "I am. You've earned it." But her voice lacked the fire it usually held. Ayoola frowned. "What about us?" Ife wiped her hands on a cloth. "Us? We're just night rehearsals and rice abi?" The words stung more than he'd admit. She packed her things in silence. No laughter, no banter. Just the sound of charcoal dying. Ayoola didn't play that night. The jazz, like the fire, was gone. They started drifting. Ayoola skipped their meetings. Ife focused on her jollof orders, now more popular than ever, especially after a junior claimed it cured his heartbreak. They passed in the corridors without eye contact. In the dining hall, their tables sat on opposite sides. Still, Ayoola couldn't stop thinking of her. One evening, he played alone behind the science lab. A low, sad melody. Halfway through, he heard humming. He turned. It was Ife standing behind him with a Tupperware. "Rice?" he asked. "Spicy. Like always," she said. They didn't talk about the contract. They didn't need to. She sat beside him. He played. She hummed. Just like old times, but heavier. "Promise me something," she said as the night deepened. "Anything. When you get famous, don't forget the girl who fed your fire." He nodded. "Only if you promise to name your restaurant after our jam sessions." She smiled. "Jazz and Jollof?" "Perfect." The last week of term came fast. Seyi had arranged a soft launch in Abuja. Ayoola packed his things, said farewell to his roommates, and handed in his sacks to be polished. But he hadn't seen Ife in 3 days. On the night before his departure, he returned to the laundry spot, empty. No fire, no rice, just ash and silence. He turned to leave, and saw it. A small box wrapped in red cloth. Inside, a folded note, a spoon engraved with "Keep Stirring," and a flash drive labeled "Our Fire Mix," a compilation of songs he'd played, recorded without him knowing. At the bottom of the note, "Play loud. Remember me." His chest tightened. He played one last song that night, tears mixing with his breath. Ife listened from her dorm window, silent. Months passed. Ayoola's name began trending on music blogs. Clips of his performances circulated online. His debut EP from the dorm room hit SoundCloud and went viral. People praised the mysterious, soulful quality of his tracks. "Like it's dipped in stew and sadness," one reviewer wrote. Meanwhile, Ife graduated and returned to Ajigunle. With savings from her food business and a little loan from her mother, she opened a tiny shop painted yellow with a sign above, "Jazz and Jollof." Customers came not just for the food but for the atmosphere. Saxophone tunes played from speakers, the menu items named after musical scales, spicy crescendo, major key stew. One day Ayoola walked in, hoodie up, quiet. She looked up from behind the counter, stunned. "You forgot to stir," he said, holding up her spoon. She smiled. "You're late." They sat together under the ceiling fan, rice and laughter between them. No stage lights. No midnight sneaking. Just two people older now but not changed where it mattered. "You came back," she said. I never left. Not really. He played for her that evening live while she cooked, like the old days but sweeter. Say called later that week. You ready to tour Europe? Only if I can bring a chef. There were challenges ahead. Fame, pressure, expansion. But also love, rhythm, and jollof. Together they were a melody. And this time they wouldn't miss a beat.